Welcome to another day with Jesus, a daily devotional podcast to help you walk with Jesus, live for Jesus, and represent Jesus. Now let us open our heart to receive as Pastor Preji shares from the heart of God.
Greetings in Jesus' precious name. Welcome to this beautiful, brand new day that the Lord has given us. Today, I'd like to take your attention to the book of Mark, chapter 13 and verse 25. It says, "And the stars of heaven shall fall, and the powers that are in heaven shall be shaken." The very next verse is a very famous verse where it talks about the return of Jesus in the clouds, where Jesus will appear in the heaven, and those that are waiting on him, they will be caught up with him and they will be with him for all eternity. But my focus today is not necessarily about the manifestation of Jesus or the coming of Jesus. It is about what would be the sign of his coming. Now, I want us to interpret this in another different level or dimension, which is to understand that when we talk about a revival, we are talking specifically about Jesus manifesting his presence. Now, if we want to see a revival in our city and our nation, if we want Jesus to manifest himself in our city and our nation, then this will be one of the signs, or this has to be one of the prerequisites for Jesus to be able to manifest. It says, "And the stars of heaven shall fail, they shall fall, and the powers that are in heaven shall be shaken." So in other words, if you want the Lord to manifest himself in his entirety, in his glory, in your church, in your city, your nation, then you need to pray that every other star, when Jesus comes, he will come in the clouds. He will come in the heavens. So the Bible says before he comes in the heavens, all the stars of heaven had to fail, had to fall, had to become dark. The sun and the moon needed to fail. And the same thing is necessary if we have to see and experience a physical, spiritual revival in our city and our nation. We have to pray and say, "Lord, every other star, every other sun, the moon, and every other thing that shines out in the heavens or the spiritual heavens over our church, our city, our nation, may they all fade away, and may the face of Jesus be revealed." Until and unless we do not expect and ask and cry and pray for all other stars to be shaken and everything else in the heaven to be shaken, we cannot expect Jesus to be manifested. We cannot expect a revival to show forth. I am a firm believer in God using his favorite men and his passionate men, his most beloved servants in a season of revival. And at the same time, I believe that the Lord is going to cause the church to rise to a place where we will learn to ignore the sun, the moon, and the stars. That we will learn to take our eyes off of the pastors and the preachers and the prophets. Our eyes will no longer be fixed on those that are bringing the voice of Jesus. Our eyes will no longer be fixed on those that are instrumental to point us to God. If you read the scriptures, you will see how the sun, the moon, and the stars are supposed to point us to the glory of God. And the same is true about your pastors, your leaders, your prophets, your spiritual parents. Their purpose and their goal in your life is to point you to the glory of God, to the purposes of God. And yet, there has to come a point where even the sun, the moon, and the stars need to fade away so that the greatest sun, the greatest star, the star that created every other stars, the light that gives light to every other lights, for him to appear, it is necessary that every other star, sun, moon to fade away, to fall away. So my hope and my prayer is that in this season, we will pray. Say, Lord, give us the grace. If I am one of those stars that is shining in my church, if I am one of those worship leaders that is taking prominence in my church, if I am one of those preacher, prophet, minister, evangelist who is taking prominence in my city and my nation, help me to fade away. Help me to take the side stage, to go off the center stage, so that you can come and manifest yourself, so you can come and encounter your people, your children, in a way that only you can do. And may that be the start of a season of revival. May that be a start of a season of encountering God. May that be a start of a season of experiencing God in a deep, intimate, and a personal level. If you can pray that, and if you can ask the Lord to do that even in your church, in your city, in your nation, and say, Lord, thank God for the sun, moon, and the stars, but now it is a revival time. And in a revival, only Jesus can shine. In a revival, only the Son of God, the Son of Man can be glorified, can be lifted up. Because when we lift him up, the Father will draw all men to himself, not to the church, but to himself. And so in this season, we completely believe that the Lord is preparing the church around the world for a great end time harvest. And one of the things that we need to pray is, Lord, thank you for using my leaders. Thank you for using me. Thank you for using our family. And yet, here we are. We are willing to fade away. We are willing to let our eyes go off of our leaders and be set on the ultimate leader, Jesus himself. Jesus, come and manifest yourself. Show off your glory. Show off your beauty. Show off your presence in such a manner that we would not want another sun, moon, or star anymore. God bless you. Thank you for tuning in. I pray and I hope that this will touch your spirit at different points. Have a blessed and a beautiful day. We'll talk again tomorrow morning.
We hope you are encouraged by today's podcast. To know more about Pastor Preji or other resources you can avail, or to receive help in any specific area, connect with us at pastorpreji.com. We wish you a Christ-filled day ahead.